Welcome to the Mixed Reception Podcast. I'm your host, Barrett Sigmund, and today, very special guest, Amber Nettles. What is up?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So Amber and I, we go way back. We used to be in a sketch group called the Pre Madonnas.
We were in a couple groups. We were in On the Fly together. Were in, that was my first team. We were in the improvised movie. You were in my Improv 101 class.
That's true.
We started at the Push together. Yeah.
Now she's in Chicago. Are you in any groups in Chicago?
Yeah, I have. Well, things are funky right now because obviously nothing is happening.
The world is ending, yeah.
Yeah, but so I do a couple shows here as a producer or like co-producer, and then I have a team called the Improvised Ghost Hunters that we were just getting started.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
It's so cool.
Shows suck so much. Are you guys? So you guys just like make fun of those shows?
Yeah, so it's like kind of. Imagine if you're doing like the improvised movie and part of it is like making fun of the tropes and archetypes. Yeah, it's just fun, and I have such a wonderful group of people to work with on that. And then I do a variety show called The Incubator, Otherworld, once a month, which is I just book a couple different acts and they get feedback from a panel. So like it's for people who are trying stuff out, which is super fun. And I got a lot of stuff in the works right when COVID hit. So hopefully one day I'll be able to get all that back.
I know in retrospect, it was kind of awesome that we ended the Pre Madonnas when we did, because not long after
I know
everything just went to shit.
That's still it's definitely the Pre Madonnas are so important to me because it was just a wonderful group of people and we had so much fun. But we also I felt like we're really successful. Like we put on really good shows, and our last show was just so much fun and just wild. I don't know. I miss you guys a lot, and so I'm glad we got to have that. All
right. So if you guys are in the Chicago area, look up Amber Nettles. Go see her. When theaters open up again, 10 years from now, go to a show. Hopefully it won't be that long. So today we're doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people forgot this was a thing.
I think there's a reason for that. This movie, there's a lot of nostalgia associated with it, but the TV series is really cemented in pop culture, and so when people mention the movie, it's like, oh yeah, there was a movie before it, but I'm sure you have the numbers and are going to tell us about box office.
Well, let me ask you this.
I have very strong opinions.
I do too. It might surprise you, my opinion. We'll get into it. So I brought you on here because you are a pretty big fan of the show.
Yes, I have watched the entire series at least 4 times.
4 times? Jesus Christ.
I think probably more. I could count. When it aired live, I've watched the full series with my best friend when we lived together. And I had 2 different significant others, because I did used to have significant others at certain points in my life. I've had 2 of them watch the full series with me. So I've watched it at least 4 times in its entirety. I wrote papers on Buffy in college.
Papers?
I could what
kind of papers? Real quick. You don't have to go into huge detail.
The big one was for my women in literature class, and it was about how Buffy as a heroine, there's 7 main archetypes in literature for heroes, and how throughout the 7 seasons, she's sort of showcased how each one was. And it was sort of just talking about the evolution of her as a heroine and how she sort of hit on all of those different archetypes. I couldn't name those archetypes now if I wanted to, because that was college. Now it's a long time ago. Yeah, in that class when they were like, you have to write a term paper, I was like, can I make this about Buffy?
So Buffy helped you graduate college.
Buffy, I wouldn't say that. I would say that it was really it was a big deal for me. I remember Valentine's Day when I was freshman in high school. I actually had a date, and it was one of my first boyfriends, and we were going to the mall and then to the movie, but it was on a Tuesday night, and I told him I wouldn't go unless he taped it at his parents' house.
Oh my God.
And my mom and dad had to tape it. I was not having a chance where I was going to miss that night. I didn't really want to go out on a date because I wanted to watch Buffy. So yeah, it's really important. It was a touchstone pop culture wise. And I did see the movie. That is not as important to me.
After or before the show? I feel like most people are probably after the show. Out of a curiosity, probably.
Oh, I saw the movie when it came out. I don't know if I saw it in theaters, but I definitely saw it before the TV show because I knew what the TV show was going to be about, you know. So the movie came out in 92. So I would have been like 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah, 9. I know your age.
Oh yeah, 80. Oh yeah. So I would have been like, no. That's weird, Barrett.
Hey, when you're in a sketch group with someone long enough, you know that you start to know their birthdays and ages and stuff.
Yeah. Well, when's my birthday?
Well, okay, I forgot your actual date, but I know the year you were born.
See, I feel like that's weird. Yeah.
A little bit.
But so, like, I was like at the age where, like, I don't remember if this is PG-13 or not, but like, my parents pretty much let me watch whatever I wanted. I was into Stephen King and horror movies or whatever. So I would have seen this either in theaters or probably gotten it from Blockbuster as soon as it came out. Because it would have been right up my alley. And then the TV show didn't come on for
97.
Right. So
that was like you were the targeted demographic, like yeah, teenage girl, like you were prime and ready for that.
Yeah, it was a perfect time for this to launch. But yeah, the movie, like, I didn't relate to it as much when it came out because I was a little bit younger, obviously. But a TV show, definitely, like, I was the demographic for it, absolutely.
So I will say, I heard about the movie. It was interesting because, like, I was 7 when Buffy premiered, so I was a little too young for it. So I had never seen the show. But obviously I was aware of the name, and I think, God, like, I want to say 2009. This is when I was like living in Charleston. I think I was just like browsing FYE, and I just came across it, and I was like, "Oh shit, they made a Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie!" And just out of curiosity, I mean, it was like $5, and I bought it. Gosh, I mean, I watched. So I actually watched this movie twice. I watched it Thursday, just fucking bored. It was just on Hulu, and that's when I hit you up to like, hey, let's do this as an episode. And then I watched it last night. I've seen this fucking movie 2 times within a week, so I'm kind of sick of it. Well, the second time, last night, I watched it like more seriously, just so I could like take notes and stuff. But yeah, it didn't really leave much of an impact on me when I saw it for the first time. I was really kind of just indifferent towards it. The only thing I really remembered was Christy Swanson was like smoking hot, and that was it. That was it. I mean, I completely forgot about the movie. Well, let me ask you this. What makes the show so great, like real quick?
Okay, so...
That's probably a whole episode in itself, but...
The show is funnier. It has, like, again, it came out 5 years later, but, like, Joss Whedon, for what it's worth, I think, really understood how to structure the episodes. So, like, basically they have Monster of the Week episodes as well as, like, an overall arc to the season. So, I mean, that's just going to be a little more engaging. I think the acting is much, much better on the show. I am not a fan of Christy Swanson or basically anybody in this movie. I don't think any of them.
This is going to be an interesting conversation. I was a fan of a lot of people in this movie.
I was not. And I mean, there's a lot of points too. Literally, there's a point in the movie where Buffy's fighting some vampires and one grabs her by the shoulders and someone up comes up and he literally, I know you can't see me, but just like puts his hands up and waves them in the air like, like this or whatever. Like, it's the direction is, this movie is trash.
Wow, trash.
I hate it. And that's why this is a great conversation because I am such a huge fan of the TV show, but I think the production value, I think the acting, it is so bad. Like, the story is not bad. And that's the story, or the premise is great. And that's what makes the show work. It's like, you have your reluctant hero who has a calling. They do a much better job in the show of having a group of friends that are actually loyal and helpful around her. And here it's, all of her friends kind of suck in this movie too. She ends up, getting together with the outsider, which there's a nice little balance of like socioeconomic difference there too. Like, did you catch, like, Buffy and her friends are like the rich kids, and
I like that stuff because it was a part of her arc.
And that was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, the arc and the premise aren't so bad. I just think the acting was horrific. And some of the direction, especially for the villains or the monsters in it. The monsters are so bad. Like, so yeah. But the movie, I digress a little bit. The series is great because it has everything that you need for something to be successful. And it went on for 7 seasons for a reason. So
that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want to watch it. Because it's like, I don't know. It's a big undertaking to watch 7 seasons, 150 episodes. Can I just say this? Tangent. We're kind of getting off topic here. I hate network television. Like, I can't stand, like, the 23 episode seasons. And that's why I kind of don't want to watch Buffy. I kind of do. It is on Hulu. I am a little tempted after watching this. And I know it's completely different. But it's just too much. It's too much of a commitment. And
it's crazy. I was rewatching Mad Men recently.
That I can watch 13 episode seasons.
Right, 13 episodes. Well, and that's, I guess within the past 5 or 10 years, we've gotten more of the premium cable shows available to the masses. And so we've now conditioned ourselves. We're like 13. I'm okay with 6 episodes. Like, give me some Downton Abbey. Give me, shows that are only on 6 episodes at a time. I'm fine with that. But 23 episodes, I think Cougar Town is another one that I've been rewatching. And I'm like, God, it takes so long to get, it's a great show, but it takes so long to get through a season, The Office. I don't know. I don't know if The Office was 20
Sitcoms episodes. Is a whole nother conversation because those are like 30. Those are like, they're shorter. But so Molly and Jeff, who they have How Embarrassing podcast, which you were on relatively recently, for their Patreon, they're doing a Lost podcast, Get Lost. And I'm a part of it. Austin Gamlin's a part of it. And Jesus Christ, I used to love Lost, but it's a fucking chore now. It's like, so we'll watch an episode, then we'll record a podcast. And it's just like, I want to take this show and edit it down and just trim the fat, because Lost, it could be a really good 13 episode Netflix seasons. But I don't know if I'll ever watch Buffy just because I just hate network television. Maybe I will. I don't know.
There's certain episodes that are still like so good. They did an entirely silent episode called Hush that was so well done. They do an episode, and I don't want to like give spoilers, but it's called The Body, and this is, I believe, season 5. I think season 5 that I can't watch because it makes me cry like every time I watch. It's very, very affecting. But it's also the reason it's effective is because I've already invested 5 seasons, and so I really care about these characters. They have some really, really great episodes. Season 1 has a lot of not great episodes.
I hear season 1's a pretty rough.
Season 1 is a little rough, but it ends really well. And then season 4 is funky, which a lot of when you have a high school show, and then season 4 is when they transition to college. Yeah. Season 4 is funky. That transition, and like you're introducing new characters and some characters leave. And I think that a lot of people have issues with season 4. So
I'll also say this. I'm just not a big fan of like the Monster of the Week episodes. Like I don't like the one and done episodes. I like a continuing storyline. Well, and I know there's an overarching storyline in each of the seasons, but it's just like, I don't know. That's another reason why I just don't like these long shows.
I do appreciate, like, there are very few, I think, complete standalone episodes. Almost every episode does contribute to the overline story. I think the structure used to be, every season has a kind of theme, if you like look back and look at them. And about halfway through the season, you really discover what the big bad of that season is, like the big villain or the big obstacle, and you're working toward that. There are very few just total Monster of the Week episodes, and some of them, like that one I mentioned that was the all silent one, was really good. But even the musical episode, which at that point I don't think there were a ton of musical episodes on TV. It's become like par for the course now. Everybody's doing a musical episode, but theirs was actually really great because although it was Monster of the Week, that's how everybody is cursed and there's music and we're all singing our feelings. It actually moved the arc of the season along very well. Like, big things happen in that episode. And I think they really struck that balance of, we need something that every week that you're getting a story, about monsters and new monsters. Oh, look, there's a werewolf or there's a sea monster.
Are there werewolves in the show?
Yes, there are werewolves.
And there's a sea monster in the show too.
What is it called? School Heart, I think is the episode where there are monsters in the ocean. And the TV show, we're talking more about TV show than the movie.
I know. Well, we're gonna get to reviews in a second, but
So like the TV show is really good about often the monsters were really representative of basic issues that you would have happen in high school or in college, etc. Like for instance, the Sea Monsters one, specifically, it's the swim team and there are guys on the swim team and the swim team wanted to win. So they started taking the mystical version of steroids or whatever. And it gave them gills and turned them into like sea monsters or whatever. I think there was an almost rape in it too. And there's a whole thing there. But like the idea that there's so much pressure for school athletes to be, stars, that they would resort to something that it was really detrimental to their health. Like, who the fuck thought of writing that? You know what I mean? I hope it's okay I'm cursing on this, but just like really interesting ways to tackle some of those issues that you would have seen on like a Boy Meets World or like those teen TV shows. There was a school shooting episode.
Really?
So that was really interesting. So I think it happened around like the year that Columbine happened. And so they pulled the episode from, I know so much Buffy trivia. They pulled the episode from airing and didn't air it until the summer, like out of context. But again, it was sort of like a monster of the week. Buffy can hear someone thinking about killing everyone at the school, but because she fought a monster and gets like some of its blood on her, it turns her psychic for an episode, but she can't figure out who it is. And it's not who you expect. And so like they're dealing with, it can't be that bad, but it is that bad. And some people feel that way. I don't know. It was really interesting. So I'm a big fan of saying, hey, make the commitment.
I might.
Well, if you watch the movie twice, you can watch the show. I don't ever want to see this movie again.
Well, now that you said that there's like fish steroids, I kind of want to watch it now. So that's all you had to say to sell me.
That's a big deal, obviously.
All right, so I want to go over reviews at the time. I'm gonna give you some positive ones, some mixed ones, some negative ones. I would say general consensus. I think a lot of critics were just like, just kind of indifferent towards it. Very mixed reception. So this is a positive one. Tell me what you think. Jay Scott, The Globe and Mail. The Globe and Mail is a Canadian newspaper. I put it in here because it's the highest review that this movie got. Buffy the Vampire Slayer should be a mess, but it's not. It's a mini comic triumph. And although it's technically a teen movie, it's in the tiny genre of sophisticated, darkly funny teen films such as Heathers and Pump Up the Volume. So what do you think of that? Do you agree? I
think someone paid that reviewer for something positive. No, I mean, I can see how someone could approach this and say, oh, they're making fun of, the stereotypical like Valley girl, and they're making fun of the idea that vampires are like in historical context and like vampires throughout mythology are supposed to be like these sexy, dark, brooding, I mean, think of even now, like we have Twilight and it's oh, glitters, but he's so serious and so moody or whatever. So like the idea that you have vampires in the movie that are like not even that creepy and more like creepy, but not in a scary way. I think they're creepy in like you look like a pedophile kind of way. You know what I mean? like these vampires, I can see how that could come across as like satire and making fun of the tropes. I don't think it's that funny. I think that guy got paid for his review.
So not all of the comedy hits. I will say that. It's kind of hit or miss. I did get like a really strong like Heathers vibes from this movie. Heathers is a way better movie. I'll say that. Like way better. Yeah. But just like the kind of like you got this girl hanging out with these like horrible Valley girl, rich snobs, and kind of like deciding like, oh, I don't really want to hang out with these people. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree with this. I don't know. I kind of like the movie. We'll get into it more.
I would have thought that we'd come into this and you would kind of like it, and I was going to hate it. So.
I like schlock. Okay, I like schlock. This movie schlock. Kenneth Turan, Los Angeles Times actress Christy Swanson provides the ideal combination of energy and comic disdain that characterize a most unlikely savior. While it would be a mistake to oversell Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the sad or happy truth is that you could do worse on a warm summer night. A lot worse. This is the perfect review, in my opinion. Okay, I know you hate Christy Swanson in this movie. I actually liked her performance. And there's way better vampire movies, but Jesus Christ, there's a lot worse. I think it's good. Not great, but it's good.
Is that where we're setting the bar? Well, you could do worse. Like, so here's the thing. I don't know if you knew this. I read somewhere that Alyssa Milano was actually in the running to be Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That was part of my trivia. That's part of my trivia, yeah.
Oh, well, sorry to ruin it.
That's okay.
But, like, I would 1,000,000 times would have preferred her. I think there are just some certain line readings, and I didn't write the notes down. There are certain line readings where I was like, her director really should have made her redo that line. Because, like, I don't like her line readings. I do like that they had to find someone who had the physical ability to do this role. Like,
oh, they nailed that.
Yeah, like, okay. No, I mean, yeah, she looks good. You know, I just, maybe I just don't like her face. I don't know. I don't like her.
I love everything about her. Anyway, moving on. Janet Maslin, New York Times, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a slight, good-humored film that could have been a lot more painless than expected. Miss Swanson's funny, deadpan delivery holds the story together reasonably well, as does the state-of-the-art Val speak that constitutes most of Buffy's dialogue. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm telling you, I like Christy Swanson.
Yeah, and it sounds well, that's the thing. She was pretty hot back then. Like, she was, and by hot, I mean, like, people liked her. And people were, like, she was anchoring this movie that wasn't similar to a lot of other stuff that was out at the time. And, like, I mean, that's fine. People are entitled to their opinion. I just don't think it holds up very well. Like,
it's kind of dated. Just like, well, we can get into it when we talk about notes, but yeah. I don't know. I wonder if it's like, do people really? Well, first of all, do people talk like that? I don't know. In Southern California, I don't know. Maybe.
I think it was exaggerated version of that type of speak. And again, it's like that in and of itself, I can understand how some might think that's like satire, because some of it was a little over the top. I'm like, no actual teenager sounds like that. But then, I mean, Joss Whedon had the same sort of criticism for the TV show, but they just sounded smarter. And I think that's a big thing for me. Is like, it'd be one thing if they were using that language and it sounded like they understood what they were saying, kind of. I don't know. I wasn't, I don't think it holds up really well. And it does seem, Heather's is like so highly stylized. This seems like for me, I didn't feel like they were in on the joke. And if they were leaning into it a little bit more, or getting that direction, I think that it would have been better. Maybe I just don't like how it was directed, you know?
Well, we'll get into, I don't think the direction's that great. I actually do have some issues with some of the editing in this movie, but we can get into that for notes. All right, so I got 2 more reviews left, and they're both negative, so you're going to be very happy.
Yay.
Chicago Sun-Times. Hey, that's your city.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is bullshit. I could not find a review for, I don't know what Roger Ebert thought, but I got another guy, Ernest Tucker, Chicago Sun-Times. I guess Roger Ebert was off, but he said, neither funny nor scary. Buffy ends up as little more than a bunch of stereotypes, Rubens excluded, squaring off with each other as true love triumphs. Maybe it should have been called Pee-wee's Big Denture. That would have been a cool name. And given people something to sink their teeth into. But for now, Buffy remains lifeless. I'm sure you agree with everything.
That thing, like, if it was either more scary or more funny, I agree. I think that is the most accurate review so far.
We can get it, and trivia we'll talk about a little bit more, but obviously the intention for this movie was to be a little darker. I think I think the filmmakers straight up wanted the director in the studio, like, this is a fucking comedy straight up. So I don't think it's supposed to be scary. We can argue a little bit about whether this movie is funny or not. I mean, not all the jokes work. I will say, like, I mean, stereotypes. I mean, this is not reinventing the wheel. I mean, it has all the kind of high school tropes and stuff, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
No.
I mean, but all right, last one. Peter Travers, Rolling Stone. Buffy isn't heinous, just disposable. As a friend tells Buffy while she eyes a fashion purchase, it's so 5 minutes ago.
And if he was saying it's so 5 minutes ago, back when this came out, like, it's not going to hold up well. Yeah, I think that he's right. I think that when this came out, you either, if you were expecting more, then you were going to be disappointed, you know. But if I'm sure this was acceptable entertainment for some people.
I think I didn't have high expectations for this, you know. So I think that's why I kind of was like, it's fine, it's fun. I don't know.
And that's when it came out. I was probably more into it than I am now. You know,
okay,
I was like, this is fine. But now I have, you know, I'm a grown up and I have likely better taste. And I have 7 years of Buffy and, you know, 5 of Angel, which was the spinoff, and the comic books, etc. And I just, I know that there was such a lost opportunity or a missed opportunity here. Sorry, there's a siren outside. There's a missed opportunity. They could have done just so much better. And so
I will buy that. I think it could have been better.
Yeah.
To go back to Melissa Milano, did you ever watch Charmed?
Yes.
Okay, well, what is that about? Is that a vampire thing too? Oh, witches.
They're witches.
Okay, now that wasn't a spin-off, was it?
No, it's not related to the Buffy universe.
I'm thinking Angel.
Angel is the spin-off. So after season 3. Yeah, after season 3, Angel, who is a vampire but a good one, he moves to Los Angeles. And another character on the TV show, Cordelia, also moves, and they end up working together and getting other people. And Wesley, another character, ends up with them in season 2. So, like, it was a spin-off, and it was like a grittier, more adult version of similar things. So, there were 2 completely different shows that occasionally had crossovers. But while Buffy's in college in Sunnydale on that TV show, Angel and the rest of them are like living more adult lives, basically.
Okay. All right. Wait, isn't Angel like an older guy?
Well, yeah.
But he's like hooking up with his high schooler. I don't know.
Yeah, not everything holds up well.
Because I don't know a lot about the show, but I know Angel and Buffy were an item for a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's like 150 or 400 years old. I can't even remember. So no, I mean that's a common trope in every vampire-based story.
That is true. They're all very old and
like, how old is Edward Cullen in Twilight, or what is it? I mean, that's actually like an Interview with the Vampire. You have the whole issue where like Kirsten Dunst's character, is stuck in the body of a child. She's older. So like, ages are weird. What is it? Vampire Diaries, same thing. Damon, and I watch a lot of teen TV.
Jesus obviously. Christ.
I know, like this is my wheelhouse. I could start a podcast just about teen or young adult supernatural in books, film, and TV.
Save it for the Patreon. Maybe we'll do a Patreon.
Yeah,
Buffy.
that'd be fun.
That'd be cool. Rotten Tomatoes, critics, 35%. Audience, 43%. Consensus, Buffy the Vampire Slayer supernatural coming-of-age tale is let down by poor directing and even poorer plotting, though Christy Swanson and Paul Rubin's game performances still managed to slay. See, a lot of critics thought Christy Swanson was awesome.
Again, she was like pretty hyped up at that time. Like it was, and again, I think it's just because I like Sarah Michelle Gellar so much more that it's hard. And I didn't like some of the, again, I think the directing should have been better, and then I probably would have liked her. She's serviceable. I'll give it that. Like, she did okay with what she had, and good for her. Trying things.
I'm trying to think what else. I'm trying to think what else Christy Swanson was in. I do know that she was like Adam Sandler's ex-girlfriend in Big Daddy. Do you remember that? Yeah. And she's dating the old dude, and I just remember that part where Adam Sandler's like, "Oh, he's got loose skin and old balls, gross." That's other than Big Daddy and this. I don't know what else she's been in.
I looked it up yesterday, and like she worked pretty steadily, but never had like a hit. I think she was on SEAL Team 6. She did a bunch of like holiday movies for like the Hallmark Channel or whatever channel. Her and Dean Cain sort of teamed up. She did the one season of Ice Skating with the Stars and won. So that's her other like major claim to fame. They only had one season of it. I guess Dancing with the Stars was a big deal. They're like Ice Skating with the Stars. And she won that. So congrats. Yeah, I didn't really keep up with her because I wasn't like, oh my God, I love this actress so much. I just didn't care.
So what you're saying is you don't want to be part of my Christy Swanson
fan club
podcast on my Patreon?
No, I don't think there's enough content for that, to be completely honest.
Canceled after 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Metacritic 48, IMDb 5.7. So yeah, I mean, doesn't seem like there's not a lot of people crazy about it. But so box office, so budget $7 million. US made $16.6 million. So I mean, it was like kind of a modest hit, not big by any means.
Yeah, it was a big deal. And again, like, good for them. Again, 7 million. 7 million, I think we can see that it was only 7 million. Like, one thing that I do know, so when they stab vampires in this through the heart with a stake, the bodies just go thunk, like, and stay there, and so nobody addresses the fact that people are like, all these vampires are getting killed and people are finding these bodies with stakes through their heart.
Yeah, we'll get into that notes. Nobody reacts to anything in this movie. It drove me crazy. There's a guy floating up, making a slam dunk.
Right.
And nobody acts. Sure. Yeah, we'll get into that notes, which.
Okay, good.
Speaking of which, like, notes.
Notes, okay.
All right, so I just wrote some things down. Actually, quite a bit.
Jeez.
So yeah, just feel free to comment or add anything. So my first bullet point, the opening scene, you're up to Dark Ages. Every time they like cut back to like a flashback of her like prior life, I just can't help but laugh. It's so cheesy.
It is so cheesy.
Yeah, and like the makeup and like the beards and everything. It's really cheesy, but charming though, in a charming way.
Well, but again, from a directing perspective, I feel like you're already sort of losing people by setting something up that looks that cheesy. Like, I much would have rather seen our heroine in some sort of situation and then seen a dream with her in a past life or whatever. Because it's like, wait, why is she having this dream? With the reverse, I just didn't.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice. So in the flashback, she raises her stake, and then it's like cut to a pom-pom, and we get the longest cheerleading scene in like motion picture history.
Oh, and let's talk about
I was kind of digging it though.
Your chicken.
Oh, I love the cheer.
How loose is your goose? And I know this is so silly, but like their outfits, those outfits are cheerleading shorts, not skirts. And I wondered who made that choice for costuming.
I had a problem with that.
Short.
So half of them are wearing the purple leggings, and then half of them aren't. So they're not uniform, and that really bothered me.
That bothered you?
It did. I was just like, why? Okay, if one of you are going to wear them, then all of you need to wear them.
Or you need to be arranged in a way in which it looks purposeful.
Yeah.
Again, so much of what happens in this movie doesn't feel purposeful. Like the satire, the humor, like things that are, funny because they're stupid versus, oh, this is a joke, but it's not funny. Like,
I will agree with that. It is. Most of the humor is funny because it is stupid.
Yeah, there needs to be. I wish there had been more purposeful things happening here, and that costuming is a great example of that.
Can we talk about the mascot? It's like a pig. What's the name of the high school in this? I forgot. You probably don't remember.
Hemery.
The Hemery Hogs. Is that what it is?
I guess so. Yeah.
Also, I wrote down I love the basketball coach. I want to spin off with the basketball coach. He's like, remember, guys, I'm a person and I have a right to the ball. And then like he's like drawing up a play with like the charts like upside down. I love that coach. I want to spin off with the coach.
Well, and it's funny because it's like whoever wrote this or whatever decided they're going to take that moment to satirize the idea of like these touchy feelings. So again, you have to think about when this was. So that whole like self-actualization movement, be everything that you can, and we have the right. Like that was a very, I guess, Southern California thing right now, and it wasn't mainstream. that whole thing is they're really making fun of people who are like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that probably was intentionally humorous.
Yeah, it's interesting. So speaking of the high school, since we're on there, let's also talk that we see Hilary Swank in her first
movie role.
Yes.
There's a lot of people in here. Did you know Thomas Jane's in this movie?
Yes.
He's the guy in the, I guess, the garage that Luke Perry works at. He looks unrecognizable. He's got a beard and everything. I love Thomas Jane.
The principal, who I forget
Stephen Root.
Yeah, he's a very prominent character actor. He was in Barry, which is that HBO show with Bill Hader, as well as King of the Hill, and he was Eddie the vampire in True Blood.
I never got into True Blood.
I like True Blood. I mean, it's the grown-up, like Twilight, Buffy. I mean, it's vampires and werewolves. Again, this is my wheelhouse. So, like, but yeah, because I noticed him as soon as I saw the principal. I was like, where do I know him from? And I looked him up. I was like, oh yeah, Barry most recently, but also like in True Blood. So yeah. Also,
you're forgetting his best role, Milton in Office Space.
Oh yeah. So I would say that he again, obviously with Daniel Rutherford, is that his name?
Daniel Rutherford? Who's that?
No. The guy, Donald Sutherland.
Daniel. Nice. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Donald Sutherland. And then Ben Affleck is here very briefly.
Holy shit! Yeah.
So I mean, again, interesting cast.
Great cast. You got Paul Rubens, Rutger Hauer, Daniel Sutherland, Donald Sutherland.
It's hard to remember. Okay, so yeah, like high school stuff, cool cheerleaders, fun coach.
The mall scene is ridiculous, but I mean, it was really funny. This is kind of like where it reminds me of Heather's. Just the dialogue is so just over the top and exaggerated, and I don't know. I guess it's kind of like, I guess SoCal girls, the stereotypical SoCal girls, to dial it up to like 11. But like, oh my God, this is so lush. Like, what's this sitch on board? And they're like complaining about like the movie theaters. Like, they don't even have THX. They don't even have Dolby.
Right.
Ushers, they're like the Acme Patrol. Like, Jesus Christ. Yap. They're so awful. And then this is when Donald Sutherland shows up. He follows them. And he's very creepy in this movie, which we'll talk about. But he shows up in front of the elevator, and they're like, "Excuse much, rude or anything?" and they one of the girls calls him a homeless. What a homeless! I love that. I'm gonna start using that.
But I don't think that people actually said, "Oh my God, what a homeless!" Like I don't think that was in the actual like Valley Girl lexicon. It was again made up version of it, kind of. He is super creepy. I like the mall scene because that obviously is there to give us some idea of like who Buffy and her friends are.
Yes.
They're assholes. Yes. They are rich, entitled jerks, not just jerks, but they're jerks to each other, and they're the jerks that are going to like talk in the movie theater, and they're super judgmental about poor people, and like they're just bad people. So it's good to have this because, again, as you mentioned earlier, like the growth of Buffy from like this awful person to someone who like takes on her duty to save people or whatever is important.
Yeah. So yeah, speaking of talking in the movie, this is when we're introduced to what's his name? Pike, played by Luke Perry, and then David Arquette. And so they're like talking in the movie, which like they're getting mad at them for talking in the movie, but those two are totally talking too. So like both y'all should shut up. Also, like, they meet up and, like, I guess it's, like, it's not a bar, but it looks like a bar. But they're, like, in high school, like, but there's, like, pool tables and stuff, so it feels like a bar. I don't know. It's very dimly lit.
Well, and this is a common, I think, at least something that goes across both the TV and the movie, is that in the TV series, there is a bar / place where you can get coffee, and there's pool tables and there's a stage, so it's a venue that everybody hangs out at. And again, the show is based in a different city, but I think that I mean, there's a place like that around the corner from me right now that's kind of a bar but also a coffee shop, and so I kind of get it. I just don't think that I was familiar with any place that looked like that previously, and so yeah, it is a little weird.
So here's my question too: Is Luke Perry and David Arquette, do they go to that high school? I don't think they do, because I think Luke Perry's older.
We see them?
Because he works at that garage, and they're like getting drunk and stuff too later. Like I think they're like older.
Well, I mean, teenagers get drunk, but so Buffy in the movie they're seniors, right? And just a side note, but in the TV show they're sophomores.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like there's that. So they like backtrack a little bit and just change stuff. I don't know. I mean, he shows up at the dance, right?
Well, okay, so we're going to get into this, but this high school will fucking let anybody in because Donald Sutherland just keeps on coming in. Who's this fucking weird old guy just coming into the high school? Where's security? I have so many questions.
Like watching a girl in a leotard run around.
And also in the changing room, in the locker room.
Right, in the locker room. Right.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, that's back in the 90s, like school security was real lax, you know?
Apparently.
I hate to say it, but this was like pre-Columbine. This was pre all of that. It was just like anybody could just walk into school and, you know, pop a squat and like watch the kids run around, I guess. I don't know.
I'll bring up the bar because we get the hot dog scene, which is very weird. I guess like I don't even know what's going on here. So like David Arquette, so they're so fucking broke that they can only afford a single hot dog and they have to share it. So David Arquette eats the wiener, and then Perry eats the bun. But then, is he confused? Did he not realize that he's eating the bun because he spits it out? And then David Arquette pretends that his dick, or the hot dog wiener, is his actual wiener, and Buffy chops it with a knife, but not like in half, like
vertically.
Vertically? I just what is going on here? I have so many questions. The hot dog scene. I'm just gonna say the weirdest hot dog scene in the movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Weirdest hot dog scene in the movie. I know, again, they're contentious meeting and like very clearly setting like we're from two different worlds and these guys are from the wrong side of the tracks. But there's no like context on like, do these guys live with their parents? They don't live alone because later on David Arquette's character shows up at Pike's place, right?
Yeah.
So, like, where do they live? Are they still in high school? They look older. I don't know. Why are they talking to high school girls at all if they're not in high school?
So they're running around drunk, and then this is when David Arquette gets bitten.
Yeah.
And then Donald Sutherland, who is, what's his name? Merrick. He saves Pike. Like, is Merrick just like driving around? Just like, what's he doing? Like, how is he there?
Yeah. Well, so I think they sort of explain, like, he was supposed to be with her and train her a long time ago, and, like, I guess
couldn't find her?
Yeah, there's no real reason. Like, he's not like, well, I got thrown in jail for looking at young girls, and so I couldn't get up for 10 years or whatever. That's no, like
what happened. That's exactly
I know.
What happened.
Like, all they had to be.
I thought she was a vampire slayer. Like, you're coming with us. You're in jail.
Sure, buddy. Okay. So, yeah, he's just like, I finally found you. And we're like, but where have you been? So you've been searching for her for forever.
God, you're not very good at your job.
Yeah, did you, like, can you not read a map? How would you know? Etc. Like, it's like she has a birthmark which she had gotten removed. Is that why he couldn't find her? I don't know.
Oh my God, what if he was just like running around, just like ripping girls' shirts down, like, do you have a mole? Do you have a mole? Do you have a mole?
Yeah. So, and then I guess because she's not on board, right? So I guess he's just driving around. So his title is Watcher, you know, and so I guess he's just running around watching, because he says later, like, how he's not supposed to be getting involved. He's just supposed to be training and guiding the Slayer. Like, that's his job. You know, sort of useless in my opinion. Like, you're not really helpful. Like, she obviously can do everything. Like, you meet up with her, it's like, oh, she can already do all the cartwheels that are necessary to fighting, apparently.
Yeah, actually, yeah. He is pretty useless. This is when, he shows up to the school and he's like, come with me to the graveyard. She's like doing gymnastics. So he's been like staring at her for God knows how long. But yeah, he's just like, yeah, come to me with the graveyard. And she's just like, what's your damage? Which is a great line.
People did used to say, what's your damage?
Okay, I thought that was just a Josh Whedon thing.
No, what's your damage is something that I've heard elsewhere, so.
I actually like the graveyard scene. I think it's pretty cool. You may disagree. Yeah. The fight choreography is not the best, but I just like the idea of like these freshly dead vampires just like coming out of the grave and stuff. Like, this is like a really cool image.
So again, watch the TV show, because think about what the daily life of a Slayer would be. You'd probably go hang out at the graveyard trying to get the new vampires before they're able to like run amok and kill people, So you'd be looking at the obituary section a lot if you were a new Slayer.
Also, we have to bring this up. So she gets menstrual cramps, and that's how she senses danger. And I love this line. It might be, we're going to get the categories, but this might be the line of the movie. My secret weapon is PMS. Yeah, she has cramps, and that's how she senses danger. Like, wow. What a great idea. That's not in the show, is it?
No, she has a sense of vampires, but she does not get cramps. And to me, it just screams of like misogyny. Like, let's punish the women for being, important by putting them in pain. Like, fuck you guys. I don't want to hear that ever again. I'm like, what a bum deal she gets is like, you're the chosen one. You have to fight vampires. Oh, and by the way, right before you start fighting them, you're going to have horrible cramps.
So when she had like 10 vampires like all around her, I bet her sides were just killing her. Like, oh.
I mean, were they? That's the thing. They had that, and then they
forget about it.
Drop it. Yeah, they drop it. So. Oh,
so then we get into the locker room. He's just fucking Merrick is just
creepy.
Just creepy.
Yeah.
And I do like this scene. Again, like, it's kind of a cool scene. He throws a knife at her and she like catches it. But it's like, yeah, she can do anything.
Yeah, she already has. And here's the thing. If you can catch a knife being thrown at your head, wouldn't you have noticed that you have better reflexes than other people by this point?
This is probably the first time someone's
superhero.
This is probably the first time someone's thrown a knife at her face.
Well, maybe, but like, there's other things. Like, if she's that fast, then she's probably like someone's dropped something, she's caught it. Like, it's like a thing in that it's an origin story for a lot of superheroes. Like, first they notice their reflexes; they're much more amazing. I think Spider-Man does that. And it's sort of one of those things that, like, wouldn't she have noticed that she's special before now?
Yeah, true. Oh, so my next bullet, I kind of like the training montage, mainly because I really like the song, whatever song, it's the Vinyls.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna eat my heart out anymore. Yeah, I love that song. It's really cool, and yeah, I like the training. I actually do kind of like the training montage. I think it's kind of cute when like she's like punching the bag, and then the bag comes back.
The bag hits her.
That was kind of cool.
Like, it is. It's a completely serviceable. It's fine. Like, yes. I don't think it's the most basic, but it also, in an origin of a superhero or whatever or anything, you have to have that training montage. Again, I think that it's a little undermined by the fact that, like, I can't tell if she is actually getting better. Besides, I guess the thing hit her, but it seems like she's a fully formed superhero when he finds her.
Yeah,
so I wish we had seen a little bit more struggle, and then her learning how to use her ability. Like, this is a directing choice
or a script choice.
Yeah.
I will say, like, that is one of my complaints about the movie. She needed to struggle more.
Yeah,
it just really comes easy to her.
Yeah. Merrick is useless. He could have just been like, hey, go, you can kill vampires, go kill vampires, boom, you're done. Like, there's no point.
I did think it was funny when he's like, he's putting his arms up and she's like blocking it. God, so slow. Like, anyone could see that coming. Like, is she really, I don't know. Is she really ready?
Yeah.
Next, oh my God. So I love Principal Murray. I love it when she's like in his office and he's like, think of me as Gary Murray, the party guy. It's like, oh, are you on drugs? Like, hey, I did acid in the 60s. I went to a Doobie Brothers concert. I could see the music. I felt like a big toaster. He's awesome. I love this character. Also, though, again, to go back to nobody reacts to anything, she gets a thumbtack and kills a fly. And he's like, just not bothered by it.
Right. Like, they should, again, we talk about it in improv, like, react real to things.
Yeah.
If someone did that in front of me, I don't know if I would be excited or scared. Like, I might run. I might be like, I don't know what your deal is, but I don't want to be near it, And it's too bad that they didn't have a little bit more real, or maybe that's part of the point, what if this is satire, it's like, I wish they leaned into the, like, showed her doing more ridiculous things and nobody reacting,
If it is like kind of satirical, it didn't go in that lean in that direction enough.
Exactly.
If people aren't gonna react to crazy things, then this needs to be like Airplane or Scary Movie or something. But it didn't lean that direction enough. I mean, it didn't ruin it for me, but I did that was a recurring theme throughout the movie. I'm like, wow, like, nope, really, nobody really.
Right. If you're gonna have people not reacting to crazy things, then I want to see her drenched in blood, and people be talking to her like they don't even care that she's drenched in blood. You know what I mean? They're like something. So we know again that the characters are in on the joke, or the actors are in on the joke, so we can all be on the same page.
Yeah. All right, my next point. So Pee Wee Herman or Paul Reubens, he attacks Pike. I guess Pike's just like leaving town, and again, it's like, oh, like where's your parents? Like, what?
Well, you skipped the whole his buddy showing up at his window.
Oh yeah, he's like, I'm hungry.
Yeah. So I mean, David Arquette really, really got into this character.
I thought he was good in this movie. I like David.
Yeah, like he's probably my favorite. See, I think he understood that this is just a ridiculous thing that he gets to do whatever he wants.
I will say another problem I have with this movie is, I might talk myself into hating this. Wow. No, I don't hate it. No, I feel like, so here's the problem with this movie is I feel like there's no flow to the scenes. Like, I feel like in the beginning, more so in the beginning, there were like scenes that you probably could have put in any order. Like, there just wasn't a natural flow to them. And there's characters that like we see get attacked or something happens to them, and then they just like, they're out of the movie for so long.
Yeah.
Like David Arquette, does after that window scene, he doesn't show up until like an hour later. It's just like, oh. Right. But I wanted to see a scene with like David Arquette going into that, like maybe seeing the main vampire. I don't know, something a little bit more detail.
Well, and again, this is Pike's best friend. I wish that there was a little.
And he doesn't care. Yeah, there's no emotion.
Emotion. I mean, if Mallory showed up at my window, floating 3 floors up, I'd be like, dude. But then I would be very distraught. I get he's like leaving town, and maybe this is like a super pseudo masculine, like, I'm not going to show my feelings, I'm just going to dip out. But
that's what it was.
Okay, but that's not.
I don't know.
Like, if we're going to care about characters, I want to see the events actually affecting them on an emotional level.
Yeah.
And it's like you say you're best friends with this dude, and you share hot dogs, and yet this is happening, and you don't tell anybody.
I wanted to see David Arquette really react to Buffy cutting off his fake penis. There was no reaction.
Where's the emotional resonance?
But I kind of like this scene. Pike getting attacked, and then like he's on top of the van, and then it's like he slams the brakes, and I guess he hits a branch, and his arm falls off. That was pretty cool. And then I do like how like Buffy shows up, and then like she like smashes the guitar, and like it's like, I guess the end of the guitar she uses as a stake. That was pretty cool.
But there is a moment where like someone has her from behind, a vampire has her from behind, and then someone else, maybe it's Luke Perry's character, comes up, and the one that has her from behind, she turns around, and the vampire literally puts his hand up and goes, grr, or something. And it very much made me think of like, here's a high school production of Vampire Story. Because it was so silly. It's the same thing when you're watching an action movie and the hero's surrounded by like 8 villains, and they each take turns to fight him. Like
the choreography is not good, and you could tell like that's the budget. Like they just really didn't.
But this is a movie.
I know, but it's
a fight choreographer.
It's a cheap movie.
Again, I've seen better things, in like community plays versus the stuff here. And it's just, again, they told the vampires, attack her and then, give her a second so she can respond. So the actor is like, man, no.
Okay.
Unacceptable.
Buffy gets her ass grabbed and then beats the dude up. All right. Girl power.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay.
That's your whole note.
That's my whole note. I thought that was a cool scene. I like it. She's like, I kind of like it too. Like she's kind of grown up a little bit. She is just not, because I think before she was kind of just let guys object to fire.
Yeah, well, think about when she comes out of the mall and sees her boyfriend, and she leans, and she's wearing that tiny little mini skirt, and she leans over the guy to make out with her boyfriend, or like I think she like put a Twizzler from her mouth into his.
That was
his
really
mouth.
gross. I've never made out with Twizzlers.
I have not either, actually. Bucket list.
I don't like to do food shit.
Food is weird. Like, no. Yeah, the guy in the passenger seat, like she's leaning over him and he's like, "Can I borrow your girlfriend?"
Oh yeah.
And she's like, but you know, she also did something that was very blatantly invasive for his space too. So I don't know. But yeah, I mean,
small little scene. I don't know. I kind of liked it.
Yeah, it's like girl power and like having agency over yourself, and like I don't put up with shit anymore because I'm a slayer.
Yeah, and her friends are kind of like, "Whoa, why'd you get kind of like, whoa, I can't believe you did that." And it's like, no, she's like kind of learning to stand up for herself a little bit.
Yeah.
So good scene.
Yeah.
And then so we go to the basketball game, which Ben Affleck, he's got like he's in the movie for like 2 seconds, but I was like, holy shit, that's Ben Affleck. But again, the guy from earlier, Grueller is his name. I looked up the name.
Guy with the Cro-Magnon face?
Yeah. He was in Dazed and Confused. I don't know if you remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So was Ben Affleck. Wow, we got a Dazed and Confused reunion. But yeah, he just like, they put him in the game, and then he like, I mean, first of all, he looks evil. He's got fangs. He's got pointy ears. Like, nobody reacts. And then like he floats, and then slam dunks, and then it's just everybody. It's like it's funny. The ref is just casually like, "Oh yeah, you got to get him out of the game. You got to get him out of the game." It's just like, okay. Yeah.
And I love Merrick is there at the basketball game.
Right?
Like, why? Why is he there?
That makes sense because, well, okay, why is he there? I don't know, because I don't think but anybody can go see a high school basketball game. You just have
right. But was he expecting vampires to show up there? Like, again, no context. And then, so Buffy leaves her place in the cheerleader line to chase after him, and she stops in the middle of the court in front of the whole school because Merrick's looking at her like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "He knows who I am." Well, now everybody does. Or like,
she had to expose herself. That vampire was going to chow down on somebody.
She didn't have to expose herself. She just could have kept running after him instead of like making a statement and again in front of everybody. It just it felt
unnecessary. Actually, I have a bone to pick with this scene.
Mm-hmm.
All she does is strip him. Why does that expose her as the vampire hunter all of a sudden?
No, I mean like he knows who I am. Does he? I don't know. Maybe you are just like, dude, you look weird. But
he looked at her weird because she tripped him.
The logic is not there. that he knows who I am.
Yeah.
I don't think he does. And also, what does it matter? Like, what is it? Everyone.
I don't know.
Yeah. It just whatever.
I do like when she steals the bike and this biker's like, "Hey, you want to get some power between your legs?" That was nice.
So she just magically knows how to ride a motorcycle?
Wow.
Is that a superhero ability?
She's what they call a Mary Sue. That's what they call that.
If I, punched out a biker and took his bike or whatever, I would still probably crash the bike. Unless, part of my superhero abilities were just magically knowing even how to operate a motorcycle.
Yeah. Okay, I have this whole like showdown with what's his name, Lothos and Merrick and Pike and Buffy. I don't know why Lothos can't kill Buffy. Did I miss something that they were just like, "No, she's not ready yet." I'm like, why isn't she ready yet?
I don't know.
And then Donald Sutherland. This is probably the worst death scene ever. It's really bad acting. That was weird. I didn't get this scene. I don't know why he just couldn't kill her. I mean, there wouldn't be a movie.
So we're talking about when he's playing the violin and there's the E, ooh, ah, whatever.
No, I'm talking about Donald Sutherland dies and Lothos stabs him, but then like Lothos has Buffy like basically cornered but like Donald Sutherland is just like, "No, she's not ready," and he's just like, "Oh, okay, I'll kill you instead," and then he just leaves. I didn't get that. Logically, it just made no sense. I was wondering if I forgot something, if there was some sort of like magic shit that I don't know. Like maybe he couldn't kill her until she was like I don't know. Can you explain this?
I can't explain it. I could write an email to someone and be like, excuse me, could you explain this? No, I don't think anybody can explain it. This is just one of the many failings of the story.
Yeah, so anyway, so she's upset that Donald Sutherland's dead, and she kind of has a breakup with her friends. I actually like the scene because it's like, oh my gosh, you have to come to the senior dance. It's like going to be the last time that we're all going to get together. Besides except for the formal and the senior prom, and then like she's like listening to all like 10 dances and stuff. That was funny. I like that. That's a little bit of the satire that I
mean, but how much do her friends suck? I mean, from the yellow jacket debacle to you know, her friend going to the dance with her supposed boyfriend. Like, this is awful.
That is fucked up. Wow. Yeah, I forgot about the boyfriend thing.
I remember in high school, I digress a minute. My friend Kim asked a boy to go to homecoming and he said yes. And then later, her friend Laura asked him to go and he said yes to Laura and broke it off with Kim. And I almost killed Laura. I confronted her in the middle of the lunchroom. Like, you don't do that to your friends.
Did you do it in front of everybody and everybody looked? You made a scene? Really? Oh my God.
Yeah, I went off. I was very lucky to not get in trouble. But like and Kim was like, it's okay, Amber. I'm like, it's not fucking okay. She's supposed to be your friend. And she knew you were going to homecoming with him and she asked that guy anyways. Like, also fuck that guy, but still. I was very angry. But like, it's just not realistic for a group of friends, at least in my opinion, to act like that. So like, I wish they either leaned in more to the fact that they're all backstabbing awful people. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Sorry for the digression, but
let it out. Let it out.
Part,
fuck Laura.
I haven't thought about that in so long, but that part literally put me back to high school when I saw something like that happen, and the offense and like rage that I felt on behalf of my friend. And then there's no emotional resonant like reactions here that really are relatable, because it's, I don't know, I'd be much angry. I mean, Buffy slept with that guy, right? He stayed at her house when her parents are out of town. So she's actively in a relationship. It's her boyfriend, and her friend takes her boyfriend to the dance. No.
That's fucked up. All because she didn't show up to cheerleading practice like 3 times.
Like, no, absolutely not.
But then, so then her and Pike kind of get into it, like, oh, I'm not the chosen one, and I choose to go shopping. Great line. And then David Arquette's in the photo booth, and he spies on him. And I kind of like this. I don't know, a nice little nod to vampire lore.
Yeah.
He's in the photo booth by himself. I don't know why, but the photos don't have a reflection, so it's pretty nice.
I have a minor little bone to pick with this. We've established that he has no money, right?
Right.
And he knows he's a vampire. So he's going to pay money in the photo booth to take photos of to have blank photos made. Like, it just doesn't track.
And he left them too. He didn't even grab them. So he can't even enjoy his blank photos.
I know. It's just, a weird character choice there.
All right. I have to say this next point. I'm a straight man, but goddamn, Luke Perry.
Oh,
he slicks his hair back.
Mm-hmm.
He gets rid of that ridiculous soul patch. He's got a leather jacket. He like shows up to the prom like, dude is looking good.
I mean, Luke Perry was, very much a sex symbol. At this time period, you've got, Beverly Hills 90210. Like, he's just lovely. And he was probably my favorite casting choice.
I think he's pretty. I think he's
him
pretty
and
good
David Arquette. Yeah, I think
like him
and David Arquette are my favorite. Yeah,
he's quippy. Yeah,
he's playing. He's not really even playing like the dark, brooding older dude, because there's enough of him and David Arquette's character where they're like, I hate to say, like, they are kind of like those post high school
burnouts,
burnouts. But I mean, they're not talking really about pot, but just like, we get drunk and screw around and we're broke or whatever, and like I'm into it. That's my brand.
So yeah. I mean, they dance and kiss, and there's this bomb ass Toad the Wet Sprocket song playing while they're dancing, and I loved it. I put it on my running playlist, and I don't have the name of it right in front of me, but great song. I like the soundtrack to this movie too. Soundtrack's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so the vampires attack the school dance, and this is my favorite joke. So Buffy's like, don't worry, they can't come in unless they're invited. And then Hilary Swank's like, I already invited them in. I mean, they're seniors. That was funny. That was a legit funny. Come on, you have to admit. That part was funny.
It's interesting. So they make reference to the events of this film in the TV show. In the original script, as well as its reference in the TV show, the end of this was Buffy basically burns the gym down.
I had that in trivia. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I keep ruining your trivia.
No. Hey, no.
I know things.
It's okay. Yeah. Gary Murray, the principal, I have detention slips and I'm not afraid to use them. And also to jump ahead a little bit, like there's so many dead vampires on the floor after the whole battle, and he's just like throwing detention slips at like dead vampires. Like, what?
Yeah, well, it's like, are you guys in shock? Are you not reacting? Does everybody be like, oh yeah, sure, that's a vampire, cool, vampires are real? There's no like, what's happening?
But Buffy's got that Pike throws her that leather jacket. She's looking badass. And,
right, but also, why? Do you need a jacket? Like,
I'm okay with a little like for a little style,
sartorial confidence. Like, hey, you need to feel like dressed for the job you want. Right?
It's a metaphor, okay, for shedding her former self. Okay.
Yeah, it's like I'm not just this pretty princess. I've got this hard edge or whatever.
So Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubens' death scene. I don't know. That was stupid.
What do you not know? That was.
That was weird.
Who decided that they should do that? That's what I.
Paul Rubens did because he improvised it.
Who decided that they should keep that? Because I don't. A little
too much. So I think that, I mean, it is a funnier movie, but I think to me that was a little too far. I think.
It was, again, if we had any sort of, rule of threes, if we had any sort of precedent for that almost like winky kind of, haha, we know that we're being stupid kind of thing, then I probably would be much more comfortable with it. But it seems just so blatantly like, now's the time where we're going to do this really jokey thing. And we're like 3/4 more so through the movie. Like,
we got 5 minutes. We got 5 minutes left.
Yeah, we're at the end of the movie, and this is the point where you decide to do that. Like, no, if this was that movie, there should have been multiple points where we're doing something that cheesy and like drawn out, and like I wink to the audience, like, you see what we're doing here? Haha, fun times. Like, no.
And Paul Rubens is naturally a funny guy, but like his character, I mean, it might be a little cheesy, but he wasn't like that overly goofy. So for him to do that,
right. I mean, he loses his arm in a horrible tree and van accident earlier, and we didn't get that much cheese there,
So the showdown with her and Lothos, I did like this line. She holds up the cross, and he's like, "This is your defense, Palais, your puny faith." My keen fashion sense, and she like, was it like she's got like some hairspray or something and like sets him on fire? I like that. That was a nice little callback to a line she said previously before, but that was all right. I gotta say the last battle between those two is so lame and anticlimactic.
Right. We've got all this stuff, and you kind of want to be like, Lothos has lived for how long and always defeated the Slayers. Yeah. And this is how he dies here. Like, really? Like, come on, guys. If you have a villain who has lasted a long time going up against what we assume to be formidable opponents in our, heroines from days of past, or whatever, then I want to see a little more of a struggle, you know.
And poorly choreographed. I mean, just watching Rutger Hauer. I mean, he was probably an older man at this point, probably like in his 50s.
Yeah.
Just watching him trying to get up was funny to me, unintentionally. So really lame ending. I did laugh at the line when Rutger Hauer shows up and the principal's just like, "Hey, he's not a student." That was funny.
Okay.
I think Stephen Root might might have just won. We're going to get to categories. I think he might be the best performance in the movie. But so then they get on a motorcycle and ride off in the sunset. And we get did you stay after the credits?
Oh, no, I think that I was done.
Paul Rubens is they cut to him still dying.
I remember that, yeah.
And that's Buffy. You ready? You ready to get into the trivia?
Yeah, let's do it.
You said a lot of them, so this won't take long. Okay, so production was limited to 5 weeks to accommodate Luke Perry's Beverly Hills 90210 filming schedule.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I don't know if. Oh, go ahead.
That's a quick turnaround.
I think it explains a lot.
Yeah. They didn't have time to reshoot stuff.
Hey, that fight scene doesn't look very good. Fuck it. Keep going. Cut. Great. Good. So I don't know if you were aware of this. I bet you were. So Josh Whedon had a horrible experience on this movie. So basically, his original version was a little bit more darker. Mm-hmm. The studio basically cut out a lot of scenes, a lot of dialogue. I guess a lot of the jokes and stuff they just felt wasn't gonna. People weren't gonna react to it good. And apparently Donald Sutherland was a huge dick on set, and he improvised all his lines and stuff. And it got to the point. The script. Yeah, and it got to the point where I think Josh Whedon was just fuck it. He just walked off the set. Yep.
Which, it's interesting to me because if he had had a good experience and made the movie that he wanted, would he have still made the TV show? Because, again, if he basically, I don't know why he did the TV show. I couldn't really find out, was that the idea all along, or did he go pitch it somewhere else? But the TV show tonally feels very different, and even production and everything else feels very different. I'm maybe I'm glad that he had a bad experience because then we got the TV show out of it. I don't know if he had a good experience and made the movie he wanted to, would he have needed to continue because he wanted to do his idea justice,
Yeah, he quote unquote, so he praised Sutherland's abilities as an actor, but called his behavior quote unquote rude, and he called Sutherland quote unquote a dick. I'm sure you're aware of this. Did you know his original script that wasn't fucked with was turned into a comic called Buffy Origin. Did you know about that?
Yeah, well, I haven't read it. I read what you would call season 8 of Buffy the TV shows, but I haven't done the Origin comic. No.
Supposedly that was the original script, and we already mentioned. She burns down the school at the end, and Merrick actually kills himself because he doesn't want to turn into a vampire. So I think instead of confronting Lothos, he just kind of kills himself. But they didn't want that stuff in the movie because they thought it was just too dark.
Too dark, right? Whereas that, I think,
in this movie, that would not have fit in this movie. So for what they wanted to do, it makes sense that they cut it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ooh, David Bowie, Mick Jagger, and Carrie Ewell. What's the guy from Eloise?
Yeah. I don't know how to say
They were set to make cameos as vampires, but these were cut due to time and budgetary constraints. Okay, David Bowie, Mick Jagger would have been cool. Carrie Eloise, but that's kind of.
I don't know how to say it.
I don't know how to say his name. That's kind of random. Was he a big star back then? I know he's from Princess Bride.
Oh, I mean, he probably was, I think this movie got a lot of hype and people cared about it. And even in production, we're really excited about it. And I mean, look, again, we had Hilary Swank, we had Ben Affleck, we had Thomas Jane. I read somewhere, I have a bit of trivia. Seth Green.
Yes.
Is in, so he is
for 3 seconds.
Yeah. And you see the back of his head. He's a redheaded vampire. Yeah. He is in this movie and later was in the TV show. And he's one of, I think there's one other very, very tiny character who is in both. So it's just interesting because, I mean, they had some good names and up-and-comers. Again, look at Hilary Swank's career, and this was her first movie.
Right. Yeah. They all had pretty good careers. Well, maybe not all of them. I guess not Chrissy Swanson. Doing Hallmark movies.
I mean, she works steady. She's got more money than I do, so.
That's true. Oh, God. I want to be in some Hallmark movies. Okay, the last one. Are you aware of that? I guess Josh Whedon's working on a reboot?
Yeah,
and
I heard that.
Yeah. This was a couple years ago, Comic-Con. A couple years ago, he announced it, and he said that the new Slayer might be a black woman.
Yeah, which I'm all for. And again, so the series went on for 7 years, and then there was a comic book for season 8. I think
and
there was
9.
Yeah, 8. Was there 9? Okay.
Yeah.
And then a spinoff, maybe. Like, I'm fine with it. So you mentioned Charmed earlier. So there's a Charmed reboot on TV now.
Wait, there?
Oh, yeah. I think the first season's already on Netflix, and it was on the CW, which is the home of many of these shows. A Roswell reboot also happened last year. Roswell was the teen TV show about aliens. So, yeah, Charmed and Roswell have come back. Buffy is, I think it'll be interesting, so I don't know if, like, fans of the TV show are going to be into it, but it's really for new audiences. Like, these reboots are very often, I think, okay, we knew this formula worked, so let's update it and see it work again with teenagers, or at least try.
Maybe I'll just watch the reboot. Nah, I'm kidding. I fucking hate remakes and reboots. If this is gonna happen, I'm telling you, they're rebooting everything. They even did speaking of Luke Perry, they did a 90210 reboot.
I actually did watch that, and I didn't watch the original, but I mean that reboot was years ago.
Shit, is it already over now?
Oh, it's been done. The 90210 reboot. I mean, that has like Jessica Lowndes and Annalyn McCord.
I don't know any of these people.
I mean, I'm a CW person, especially in like the 2000s. I watched a lot of it. So
categories. All right. So, what is the best scene of this movie? I know this is gonna be hard for you.
The best scene?
Best scene.
I'm going to say the fighting montage. I agree with you. Like, I think it was fairly well done. I wish I'd sort of struggle a little bit, but like, that's enjoyable. It's something that I think an audience would expect from a movie that's about like a superhero origin, so to speak. And yeah, I was fine with that.
I'm going to go with the first encounter in the graveyard. Yes, it's the fight. The choreography is not the best. These vampires move very slow. Donald Sutherland is an elderly man and moves very slow, but I do kind of like Merrick and Buffy's interaction. Yeah. He's like, oh, the cramps, and she's like, can I borrow some gum? And I just think it's a cool image of a vampire rising up from the grave. So I'm going to go with that.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to love this next category. What is the worst scene?
Oh, the dude dying forever. Like, ooh. I hate it so much. And like, if the movie was great, that would have ruined it for me. And if the movie is so, and that makes it that much worse for me. I just hate it. I don't think it's funny. I think it's drawn out. Like, I would have rather gotten that 3 minutes of my life back or whatever, however long it is.
I think I'll have to agree with you.
Yeah.
I could see where somebody would like that. I felt out of place.
Who would like that?
I listened to a podcast about this movie last night, and they actually said they liked it.
Oh.
There was like 4 of them. It was like We Hate Movies. I don't know if you ever heard about that podcast. Yeah. But they were talking about it, and half of them thought it was funny, and the other half didn't. So some people like that stuff.
I feel like you should, when this podcast goes up, we should ask the listeners and put a poll up and say, "Did you like that scene?" And
I
get
might.
people to tell us. Yeah, let's find out if we're in the wrong here.
Most people will be like, "What? What is this movie?" Oh, best quote. There's a lot, surprisingly. I'm going to go with, that's
the damage.
My secret weapon is PMS. That's my line of the movie.
I like, what's the damage one?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Just what's your damage? Like, that really encapsulates like that Valley Girl speak for me. I think that what's your damage line is used in like Clueless too, which is also very satirical about like the Valley Girl sort of situation.
That in Heathers too. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What's your damage, Heather? I think is an actual line in Heathers. So like, I like that because I think that it, for me, sort of does. That's the one line there that like, oh, you want to know what type of language they use in this movie? That type of language.
And I will say, honorable mention. What a homeless. That was funny. Best unintentional comedic moment. For me, there's a moment where Lothos, you stupid little bitch. His delivery made me laugh. I don't know if that was intentional, but I'm going to go with you stupid little bitch.
I'm going to go with, there's a point in the movie where Buffy comes in late and they're like doing the banner and like her friends leave, but the little blonde friend is the last one to leave. And there's this nice little moment of physical comedy from a secondary character where she gets up and then like very quickly runs off like to follow the rest of her friends. And she gives like that look like kind of, I'm sorry I'm doing this, but I'm following the herd. And I remember laughing out loud at that just because I liked that it's like she was very timidly like standing up and running away from Buffy to follow the rest of the mean girls. And we haven't even mentioned that at all, but it stands out to me as a moment where I actually liked the physical choices that people were making.
All right. Next, best performance.
Oh.
This is a tough one for you.
I'm better on Kristy Swanson than I was when I started this conversation.
Yeah,
I'm giving her a little more credit. But I'm going to say that I actually like David Arquette in this. I think that he got to have fun, do whatever he wanted, and it was, I liked him as a human, and then I also liked him as the vampire. Very close runner-up is Luke Perry, because I think Luke Perry did a good job. They're almost tied for me. I think I like them more than I like anybody else.
Honestly, so this might be a hot take, despite its flaws, despite the inconsistent tone and direction, I personally think that most of the performances in this movie are actually pretty good. And gosh, it's tough for me. I mean, you can go with Luke Perry. You could go with Kristy Swanson. I think Stephen Root as the principal is very good. I think I'm going to give it to my girl, Kristy.
Well, it's nice that someone's rooting for her.
Yeah. I'm the number one member of the Kristy Swanson fan club. Last category, worst performance. You're going to have a blast with this one. You know what? I'll tell you who's the worst in this. And I love him as an actor. Donald Sutherland. I feel like he's just kind of phoning it in. I guess he's supposed to be British. His British accent kind of comes in and out. And I don't know. I mean, from what we know from behind the scenes, I kind of feel like he just like showed up and just was kind of like, fuck you. I'm Donald Sutherland. And his death scene is laughably bad.
Yeah. Can I nominate everyone who played an unnamed vampire?
Sure. Because you can do anything you want.
I'm in charge. I absolutely think that it took me out of the moment, so to speak, when I was watching this movie, and I saw some asshole playing a vampire and like not breaking, so to speak, but again, that moment where I just think that they were all kind of awful.
Extras are not good in this movie.
Extras are not good in this movie. And so like I'll step away from the main characters, etc. I thought the mean girls were fine, but I'm going to say all of the extras sucked.
Okay.
In this.
Amber, moment.
They didn't suck. They probably weren't directed very well. I'm like, right. Not that anybody's ever going to listen to this, but I'm sorry. I understand it's your craft. I know you were just doing your best, and I'm sure you're better now. But no.
What are you talking about? Nobody's going to listen to this. This is the number one movie podcast about movies that got mixed reception in the Norfolk area. I'll have you know.
I don't think like any of the extras in this movie is going to.
No, they won't.
They might be dead. I don't know.
Maybe. All right, Amber, moment of truth. So this is the last thing before we wrap up. Rate the movie out of 5 and give me your final thoughts.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 3 for the following reasons.
Out of 5?
A 3.
That's good. That's decent.
Is it? Should I drop it? No.
No, whatever you want.
Well, I never want to see this movie again. But I think that it was serviceable when it came out because I remember being excited about it. I remember getting a lot of hype. Obviously, we heard the reviews for it earlier. I love the precedent set in that, we got the series after this too. There's some nostalgia factor. I love seeing like Luke Perry young, and I love seeing like Hilary Swank and Ben Affleck randomly. And at the end of the day, this is a movie about a reluctant hero stepping up, learning about herself, and, taking responsibility and being a badass. And so I'll give it a 3.
Wow. I think I persuaded you a little bit. I think I got you a little bit more on board with this movie.
Yeah. I think you convinced me that it's not as bad. I mean, I never want to watch it again.
Oh, I've seen this 2 times in like 5 days. I don't really want to either. Okay, my score, This is a little generous. I think I'm going to go 3.5 out of 5. I think it's a good movie. I had fun with it. Now,
you like this movie and you're giving it a 3.5?
I gave it a 3 out of 5. 3.5 out of 5. I like this movie.
Okay.
I would say at the beginning felt a little weird. Like it feels the editing, the scenes, like it felt a little disjointed. I think the movie kind of finds its groove. The tone is a little inconsistent. There's some things that kind of stick out, like Paul Rubens is, but I think, the performances are, for the most part, pretty good. Yeah. I think most of the humor and dialogue worked for me. It doesn't always hit. This movie's very short. It's like 85 minutes. I wish it was a little longer, and I think I wanted more detail and stuff. Like, I wanted to know more about the backstory, and I wanted to know more about, like, the main villain. Like, I wanted to see, like, all those people that they're turning into vampires, like, I don't know, in his lair or something. Just more detail. Could have used 20 more minutes. I had fun with it. I mean, the fight choreography is not the best. I mean, it's just like the best movie ever. No, but I had fun with it. I think it's a light, enjoyable, perfectly adequate movie on a rainy Sunday afternoon. So 3.5 out of 5.
Okay. And, I will say, I didn't know that they shot it in 5 weeks. And so that, I think, has probably helped me care or think a little more highly of it. I wish there were more emotional resonance. But, yeah, I'm glad that we came to sort of a consensus on the, 3.5. Maybe I score things, again, it's nostalgia. And I think when it came out, it probably looked a lot better than what it looks like to us now.
Yes, definitely.
So, yeah, that makes sense. It has a good foundation. It's just there are a lot of, missing bricks.
All right. Well, that was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Check it out if you haven't seen it. I would hope you have seen it if you listened to everything we just spoiled for you. But Amber, this was fun. Thanks for coming on the show. Now, we have to do a Stephen King movie or something down the road. You're the biggest Stephen King fan.
I am, and we talked the other day, and so I did actually watch Dr. Sleep, which I had seen like part of, and then I think I fell asleep, honestly. But so I just watched Dr. Sleep, and you're right, I was a big fan. There's a big Stephen King resurgence. Pick something. I'll come on and talk about it because I've read the books too. So.
Yeah, The Outsider. Well, there was that bad Pet Sematary remake. I didn't like that.
That was not great. But I mean, we talked about it, right? Because you didn't like.
I didn't like Chapter 2. Yeah, but I mean, it kind of hit or miss with the Stephen King movies recently. But he's big again. So
yeah. We'll do it. Cool.
All right. Well, I will see you guys next week. Bye.